Welcome to Our Hometown, the show where we take an in-depth look at some of the people and organizations that make this area unique. This month we're focusing in on a few organizations that play a large role in bettering our community from birth to our later years. First, we'll speak with Linda Gironda and Helen Gabriel of Smart Start, who will share with us the importance of promoting developmental skills within the first 2,000 days of life. Then we'll speak with Kay Wolf and Karen Collins of Waves for Kids about how their organization impacts children across our county. And finally, we'll speak with Tom Adams and Wendy Howell from Toastmasters. They're an organization that helps people of all ages better their public speaking and communication skills. Stay with us for the next half hour as we explore our hometown. My guests today are from Brunswick County Smart Start. They are, to my immediate left, Linda Gironda. She is the executive director of that organization. And to her left is Helen Gabriel. And Helen, I want to get this right. You are the program and evaluations director.
That's correct.
Great. We have a beautiful prop to my left, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, would one of you ladies tell us what Smart Start is all about and what you do? What do you do?
Well, Smart Start of Brunswick County is part of an organization that's part of a network of Smart Start across North Carolina. Smart Start's a very unique organization. It began in North Carolina and it's across the state. What we do is provide services and programs for children birth to age 5 and support families and ensure that we have quality early care and education across the entire state. Here locally, we look at what the needs are specific to Brunswick County, and we provide services and work with other organizations to ensure children have what they need to succeed in life.
Great. And what I heard you say is from birth to 5.
From birth to 5, that's our focus.
And then the public school system picks up soon thereafter.
That's right. We want them to succeed in school.
Absolutely.
We want them to be ready when they get there.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about your program called The First 2,000 Days. Would you tell us about the program in general?
Okay. Well, the first 2,000 days is a message that Smart Start across North Carolina is using to help people understand the urgency with early childhood development and education, because 2,000 days is the approximate number of days between when a child is born and when that child enters kindergarten. We talk about 5 years, which sounds like some period of time, but when you break it down to 2,000 days, it really does not sound like a significant period of time to ensure that a child's ready to enter school.
You're right.
It's also when 90% of the brain develops during those first 2,000 days.
90%?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, well, let's talk about a few of the specifics. But one of you mentioned before the show that so much of this relates to one's opportunity to succeed later in life, and you mentioned the military. Tell us about that, for example.
Well, the military leaders every year select 3 top priorities for our nation, and early childhood education and development was one of the top 3, because at this time 75% of individuals between the ages of 18 to 24 would not successfully enter the military, either for physical limitations, inability to pass the entrance exam, or possibly a criminal background.
And if it applies to the military, it applies to all of life.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
It's very important that for our national security that we have a strong military. So
Absolutely.
It's important that young women and men are qualified, meet the criteria to enter the armed forces.
And Linda, the same principles probably apply to crime and its relationship to these first 5 years.
Absolutely. Investing in the early years, ensuring quality care and education will reduce the crime rates. Our law enforcement officers understand that.
We know that.
Yeah, we do know that. And actually in North Carolina in 2010, over $1 billion was spent on corrections. So it's really important in order to reduce that number and reduce crime that we have focus on the early years.
And I know we're singing a similar song, but the same is true as to economic impact. Speak to that for a moment, if you
Well,
will.
we need a skilled workforce. We need people to be able to go into the workforce and be qualified to do what is required of them. And in order to have a globally competitive workforce, the United States Chamber of Commerce has actually said the best investments we can make is in the early years to ensure that our workforce stays strong and that in the future we'll be able to compete globally.
Sure, sure. Helen, before we began taping, we were talking about brain development and the recent high technology that tells us so much more than what we used to know. Tell us more about that.
Okay, well, what has happened is through medical technology, through MRI imaging, we can actually see what is happening in the brain. We've known always that interaction with children is very important during the early years, but you can actually now see parts of the brain that are being stimulated and parts of the brain that are not being stimulated. So the evidence is there that shows that's what happens between those first 2,000 days is so critical.
So we knew that, but this tells us a picture in a compelling way, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's talk about the chart now. Linda, could you tell us basically what this chart illustrates?
Well, this shows in a very striking way how quickly development takes place in the early years of life. If you start here at 0, here's at birth, and you see the sensory pathways are developing for vision and hearing, and look how quickly the connections are made for language and cognitive functions and all of the sensory pathways. Your brain is actually being wired during these early months and in the early years, and you can see how critical it is that we provide the necessary stimulation and that children are cared for and provided educational opportunities and language opportunities during this critical time, so that in these later years where these pathways are not connecting as much, they will be able to succeed. They will have a strong foundation for learning, and it will impact their entire life. So it's really a very critical time for us to focus on.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Are these the high points at which learning occurs?
Where the connections are being made, yeah,
okay.
in the brain connections. All the synapses are firing, and the wiring actually is taking place in the brain. As you grow, they pruned out some of the synapses that are not used, but you have to have a strong foundation to start with.
So as with 2 out of these 3, the synapse development has begun, it's high, and it's back to its conclusion by age 6 or so.
Right, and look at, this is just 1 year.
Sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
that's the first year of life.
Please.
I'm sorry. So at 4 months, the connections for hearing and vision are developed. They're peaking at 4 months. And at 9 months, the connections for language are peaking. And at the end of 12 months, that higher cognitive function has peaked. And what's really important about this time frame, those first 2 years specifically, these connections are still flexible. They're actually like plastic, and you can actually start to change the trajectory for that child if you pay attention to what's happening during those time frames.
We've known so much of this, but we're learning so much more every year. But this is not conjecture. These are studies and results that have been tested by science or by those in the business. These are solid conclusions, are they not?
Absolutely. With all of the advances now, they can actually see the pictures of the brain. They know what's happening, and they can tell us what we can do, basically, to support what's happening in the brain. So it's based on scientific research.
Okay. Helen, one of the things we didn't talk about is the development of the social side of an individual and one's social skills. That's as important as some of these other aspects we've discussed, is it not?
Yes, it is. I mean, academics are important, but there's also what we call soft skills, and those are the skills that ensure that somebody can get along well with others. They have compassion. and many employers will indicate that they would prefer an employee that can get along with others, even more important than the qualifications they may come into the job with. So again, not only is the language and the sensory and the cognitive, but you've also got what really makes a person a kind human being down the road.
Very good point. Very good point. You serve students here in Brunswick County. Tell us about your services briefly.
Well, we have a number of different services. We're an umbrella of different things. We provide services to families through our Parents as Teachers program, which is a home visitation program to help parents learn about child development, promote literacy, and we work with 70 families now, 70 children, infants and toddlers in the county. We work with the child care providers to ensure they're providing quality programs for the children in their care. And we also administer the NC Pre-K program, which Helen has done a great job of getting children enrolled. They'll be starting on Monday. This Monday.
Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment.
And so we administer that program as well, and we have a Raising a Reader program and health programs.
Wow.
Our programs change as the needs of the children in the county change.
Sure. Helen, tell us about the pre-K program.
Okay. Well, the North Carolina Pre-Kindergarten program is a program that helps children transition into kindergarten more successfully. And we do that by placing children in high-quality child care centers that actually apply to be considered as NC Pre-K sites. So they meet a pretty high standard when they apply as a center to be that site. And the teachers in the classrooms have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. They have birth to kindergarten licensing. We require a curriculum be used specifically. So it's all these quality pieces during that 4-year time when they're 4 years old that will get them ready for kindergarten and hopefully thereafter. We've talked with many of the teachers and principals over the past years, and they can pretty much see children that have been a part of the NC Pre-K program when they enter into kindergarten.
Are there a handful of such facilities around the county?
We are in private child care settings at the moment, and we are located throughout all of Brunswick County.
Okay. And for those young mothers and fathers who have young children, they're free to contact you?
Absolutely. We always accept applications from families.
Great. Well, you're touching lives, and you're touching them at that most important time when they're very young. And we all know that if we catch our students early and provide them with the resources they need, we'll reduce crime, we'll provide opportunities for these young men and women, and we'll affect the fabric of our country throughout.
Absolutely.
So, Linda and Helen, thank you for being with us
Thank
today.
you so much, Jim,
and
for
telling
having
us
us.
the story about Smart Start. Thanks
Thank you.
again.
Thank you.
My guests are Kay Wolf and Karen Collins. They are from Waves for Kids. To my immediate left is Kay Wolf. She is the president of Waves for Kids.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And to her left is Karen Collins, who is a board member. Again, thanks for being with us. Our viewing audience will want to know, what is Waves? And so tell us a little bit about Waves.
Waves for Kids is a 501c3, all-volunteer organization that meets the unmet financial needs of the youth in this county that are in either foster care, child protective services, or in GAL, guardian ad litem.
Okay. Give us an example of the services or what you provide to these young children.
We provide everything from emergency clothing to emergency food to scholarship programs, camps, sports activities, for example, cheerleading camp or cheerleading shoes, as well as some medical needs that are special needs. And we also provide book bags for kids.
I kind of think of you as the quiet angels behind the scene. Is that fair enough to say?
Well, that's kind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Karen, tell us a little bit about the special gala that's coming up soon.
Well, we have a special event. It's planned September the 14th. It's going to be from 6 to 10 p.m. It's going to be at the St. James Community Center. And it's called the Chocolate Decadence, and it's going to be a wonderful night for people to come out. We'll have chocolates from all over the county.
Wow.
We have a lot of restaurants that are actually donating a lot of the food to us.
Okay.
We'll have live music, and we'll also have a silent auction, and we will also have a live auction.
Okay. And it's a fundraiser. And the purpose is to raise monies so that you can assist these young children who are in great need.
Yes.
It's actually our largest fundraiser of the year.
Good. I see a brown bear here, a chocolate bear, excuse me. Tell us about that.
This is Coco the bear,
All right?
and he was specially designed for Evening of Chocolate Decadence by Sally Winey.
Okay.
He's one of a kind, and Sally Winey is the person that developed the Beanie Baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for
Okay.
Ty, and he's signed by Sally, and number one.
And is he going to be the subject of one of your auctions?
He'll be in the silent auction. He certainly will be.
All right. And while we're talking about the auctions, tell us about the guitar that's with us here today. It's a beauty.
This guitar is a Squire Stratocaster by Fender. It is literally from the 2008 Academy of Country Music Association's awards event, or called the CMAs. And this particular piece is signed by several of country music stars like Keith Urban, Reba McEntire, Kix Brooks, James Otto, Kelly Pickler, Leanne Rimes, and it's just a one-of-a-kind
It
piece.
certainly is. Wow. It's an incredible piece. And so those in attendance will be able to bid on this really unusual musical piece.
It's in the live auction. We also have a lot of sports memorabilia in that
Okay.
auction and some fine jewelry. In the silent auction, there will be something for everyone, from wine baskets to costume jewelry to luggage to beach art. There's just a gamut. We wanted someone to be able to bid on something,
Okay.
no matter.
I want to come back to your services in a minute, but we'll stay with the gala because I know you want to tell our viewing audience how to obtain tickets. Could you
Yes.
tell us that?
Well, you can go to our website, Waves for Kids, and you can actually go ahead and register right there for the event. Or you can contact Kay or myself, and we'll get some tickets to you.
And how much are tickets?
They are $50 per person.
Okay.
Bobby Mitchell, who is our major events chair, his phone number is 201-4195. He actually is keeper of the tickets and can register you a phone call away.
Good.
You can even pay by credit card online or with Bobby.
Before we started, you told me that you serve a large number of youth here in the county. Can you tell us about that? How many, for example?
In Brunswick County, they're all based in Brunswick County, we serve over 1,000 children and their families. The number has increased dramatically since the economic downturn beginning in 2008, and their needs have increased. As you know, state budgets have been cut.
Right.
So their requests, our requests from DSS, continue to mount, and we try very hard to meet every request.
You've already talked about summer camps, but there are various other unmet needs for these students. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, just recently we had a stuffing book bag project.
Good.
Back in 2008, we had 21 book bags that we did, and we just did 225 book bags for children.
Wow.
And these book bags are packed specifically for the child, so they have all the items that they need when they go back to school.
And is the Department of Social Services the intermediary
Yes,
between you and the children?
they're our gatekeeper.
Okay. We also didn't mention that not only do you serve children, but you serve the families of those children.
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
A recent example of something that we did is there's a child that has severe allergies. Where they were living had mold, and the family needed to move, and they needed some financial assistance with that move. There's been other occasions where we've had to buy a room air conditioner, for example, for an asthmatic child. There have been occasions where we've had to help transport a person here to Brunswick County to come pick up a child. So and there are occasions where we've actually had to help with a parent's prescriptions, for example.
I know you can always use more volunteers.
Absolutely. You can go to wavesforkids.org and you can register right there to become a volunteer. The backbone of our events is our volunteer force. Waves has no paid employees, so you can volunteer to help at Chocolate Decadence, at a golf tournament. We have a holiday party for the children and their parents or guardians. We're always in need of volunteers.
Okay. It also occurs to me that you may be unique among the counties in North Carolina or elsewhere. Are there any other counties that you know of that where a 501c3 serves the kids in need such as this?
No, sir, I believe we are the only one, and it would be awesome if we could just be all over the state.
It sure would. It sure would. Let's remind our viewers again of your event. September 14th, 6 to 10.
Correct.
If it's a gala, it's a pretty dressy event. Am I right?
The dress is, a jacket is required for males.
Okay.
You don't have to wear a tie. It's not black tie. And normally cocktail or formal attire
Good.
are required for females. This year, you're actually going to get the red carpet treatment, literally.
Your event is so popular that it sells out every year. Am I right?
That's correct.
So the message to our viewers is to contact
Bobby Mitchell,
early.
201-4195.
Early and often.
Yes.
All right. Kay Wolf and Karen Collins, thank you for being with us.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
Jim.
it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for caring.
My guests are Wendy Howell and Tom Adams from the Toastmasters group here in Brunswick County. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Jim.
I know a little bit about Toastmasters, but I hope in the next few minutes our viewers will know a whole lot more about it. Tell us a little bit about Toastmasters. What is Toastmasters?
Well, Toastmasters is a self-paced educational organization throughout the country, and it gives you the opportunity to work on your communication and leadership skills. Through our program, you have a Learn As You Go program that allows you to work on your skills in communication and leadership.
Okay, I've learned something already, because my image of Toastmasters was that it involved public speaking, and you've just told me that it involves much more than that, leadership and communication, which is a great deal more.
Right.
Tom, what's a typical meeting like?
Well, a typical meeting, we normally have 8 to 10 participants at each meeting. We'd like to increase that, obviously, but we meet at the First Bank building on the first Tuesday and third Tuesday of each month. First Bank is the building located in front of Lowe's Home Improvement.
Right.
But the meeting is set up. We have a word of the day, which everyone participates with and brings that to the table, as well as typically we have 2 or 3 speakers that are prepared to give a speech from anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes,
Okay.
which is given to the group. Each one is evaluated on a positive note.
Sure.
And one of the things that we do is impromptu speaking. We have topics that are brought to us by one of the members, and each person is not a requirement, but is can participate in impromptu speaking on whatever the subject matter is brought to the club by that Toastmaster member.
If I'm interested in attending one of your meetings, may I attend as a guest and just observe?
Oh, certainly. You have the option. You may attend as a guest and observe the meeting, or you can participate if you have the desire to do so. I know my first meeting, and I've only been there for about 4 months now. I just joined Toastmasters here in Brunswick County. But my first meeting was, I sat back and observed what was going on, but saw the encouragement given by the other members. So the next meeting I attended, was really good for participation.
And it's a very positive experience.
It is.
Yeah. I want to speak just a moment from my experience. I speak in the schools on a very regular basis. I've probably spoken 200 or more times. And I tell students that if they become a competent and interested public speaker. They will have advantages in their lives far and above the opportunities that other children will have. And I've found that that's been my experience as well throughout my years. I've been a lawyer, and lawyers are supposed to talk, but that doesn't happen automatically. As a college student, I was terrified of taking a speech course. But over time, I overcame that, and it's inured to my benefit day after day and month after month, hundreds of times.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned, or you mentioned, the competent communicator. Tell us about that. That's a unique term, and I don't know what it means, but tell us.
Sure. The competent communicator is our set of speeches you work towards at the beginning of your journey in Toastmasters. It allows you to work through speeches that are all different levels, such as when we start, we have the icebreaker. It's your first speech. It's a 4 to 6 minute speech that allows you just really to tell the club a little bit about yourself and us to get to know you. And it goes all the way through to things like using props and delivering a story in different styles of speech. And once you get to the end of this, then you get the designation of competent communicator, and then ultimately can take that knowledge, and it builds a really good foundation to take you into the advanced Toastmasters and the advanced leadership programs that we offer as well throughout that journey.
And are some of your members at that level?
I am an ATM-B, which is the first level of the Advanced Toastmasters, and we've had several people that are competent communicators. I think we have a DTM as well, and so we've got a wide array of all different levels, which really helps our club to share that experience with each other.
Sure.
So.
Toastmasters is an international organization?
It is. There's
Okay.
118 countries that we are in,
Wow.
with over 280,000 members attending. And you look at it, it's about 250,000 people a
That's
month
pretty
going
awesome.
to Toastmasters.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we talked off camera, and I said, if I'm interested, what comes next? So I'll ask one of you that.
We would love to have you join us for a meeting just as a visitor to see what it's all about.
I'll do that.
We'd love to have you. It gives you an opportunity to just really get a feel for what we do. You can participate in it, or you can just sit back and observe. You have a choice either way, and the members will work with you and see what's best fit and where you want to be, and work on your communicator's manual and so forth, and get you started and get you membership and join the club.
How about efforts outside the meeting? I mean, do you read, study? Do you? I'm sure on occasion you prepare some talks, but
Right.
what all is involved in that regard?
Well, outside of the meeting, it's really just preparation for your next meeting. If you are a designated speaker for that meeting, you certainly want to be prepared for it. And that's one of the things about Toastmasters that they teach you is preparation. So, that's about it. And we don't get into fundraising and things like that. We have membership dues, which is only like $40, and it's very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But participation in the meeting is encouraged, and that's about what it comes
It's
down
not
to.
a dinner meeting, is it?
No,
No.
it is not a dinner meeting.
And an hour or so would comprise a meeting?
Our meetings, we try to run that calendar meeting for 1 hour.
Okay.
Now,
Tom Adams and Wendy Howell,
Yes.
thank you both for being with
Yeah,
us.
thank you for having
telling
us.
us a story about
thank you.
Toastmasters.
you
Thanks
very
again.
much.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to share with you another event taking place in our area early this month. The South Brunswick Islands Rotary, an organization of which I am proud to be a part of, will be presenting their first annual Chilled and Grilled event. It's a food and wine celebration to help fund scholarships for students attending Brunswick Community College. The event will take place Thursday, September 12th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Dinah E. Gore Center at the college. Admission is $5 at the door, and all food and beverage items will be priced from $1 to $4 each. Come enjoy food and drink from more than 20 local restaurants, beverage distributors, and wineries, and help support scholarships for our local community college. I'd like to thank you for joining us this month on Our Hometown. If you have a story that you'd like to share on a future show, visit us at atmctv.com to tell us about it. Thanks again for joining us, and tune in next month as we explore more of our hometown.